Hey, Quash, new guy, what you got over there?
As you can see here, I have slain the bat.
That was just a head swap, buddy. You realize that a head swap doesn't equate to a death. He's gonna be pretty pissed off that you took his extra head. By the way, it is Batfleck's Batman, so you're gonna be in a lot of trouble if he finds out.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm firmly equipped with my dual blasters and vibro sword. I am totally equipped for any challenge.
Clearly someone hasn't seen the Snyder movies.
Oh shit. What are you doing with my head?
Welcome to the jungle, intern!
Hello my friends, welcome back to Player Display. This is going to be a short one, but it's a little mod that can make a huge difference, so I did want to make a fully committed video to it. Today what we're going to do is at least one example of swapping out a McFarlane head sculpt with a third-party head sculpt from overseas. So if you're looking to do this mod yourself and cough up the money, then this is how you do it. So before we do that, first let's look at the stock figure that we are going to be working with. Here we have Batfleck. This is highly modified. I repainted him. I gave him a new cape, which I actually plan on replacing because I don't believe the arcs on the bottom of the cape are accurate, so I'm going to redo that. But that's a mod for another time. So what we're going to do today is simply replace this head sculpt. What's wrong with this head sculpt? Well, firstly, as far as I know, they no longer have the rights to Ben Affleck's face. So as a result of that, they kind of had to fudge a head sculpt together that kind of resembles him, but kind of doesn't. So it's not exactly what we picture when we're thinking about Batfleck. So I really wanted to get a new head sculpt. Also, the one I did, I attempted a 5 o'clock shadow on him, and as you can see, when we got up really close, it is terrible. So I wanted to do away with this whole head sculpt completely, and I could save it, put it to the side, and use it for a custom head sculpt or whatever we want. So before we do that, let's first look at the custom head sculpt that we have over here, and just explore what it looks like, and then we'll go about applying it to the actual figure. So I've purchased 3 different third-party head sculpts before, and all of them came pretty much the same way. They all came in from China, and all of them come in this really nice little tin that you can keep for yourself when you're done doing the swap. You can use it to store your extra heads or whatever it is you want, or accessories. I've already opened this, so I already know what's going on. Pretty much every third-party head sculpt I've opened looks like this with this presentation. So you open it, get a lot of foam to protect it, as it's coming overseas. And when you get the head, it's probably going to be bagged up, just like this. And we will take our head sculpt out this little baggie. Nice how these little baggies around, so do be sure to keep it. You never know when you'll need it. And here is the new head sculpt. Let's do a little comparison. Put them side by side. Oh yeah. It's a big difference. Not just the face and the likeness, but also the head shape itself. It's just so much more defined, a little more crisp. And these are really nice. They're good quality. They're not 3D printed. They are resin, very similar to what you'd see with a Hot Toys figure, just scaled all the way down. So before you get on the figure, let's just have a look. I haven't even looked at this yet, but yeah, you could definitely see it's Ben Affleck under there. A much better 5 o'clock shadow, so I like that a lot more. Much pointier ears, more chiseled jaw, as you can see there, and it just comes out a little bit more at the cheek area, which I like a lot more, so we're going to swap those out. Now, the last thing that's worth mentioning that should come in the tin, if not, there is a substitute that I will explain later, is you will get this sort of poster tack looking thing right here. Little gummies, kind of like a putty, if you will. Oh, you can see it kind of wants to stick to itself right there. But if you don't have any of that, then just get yourself some standard poster tack. You can find that at any old Walgreens, CVS, craft store. Very easy to come across. I have a gray substitute. So if a head sculpt came in and it didn't have this for whatever reason, then that's what you could use. And obviously you're going to need this to mount the head to the dumbbell joint that we have in the main figure, because as you'd suspect, the bottom is totally hollowed out. There is no ball socket in there. That would be naturally compatible with the figure you're applying it to. So it's a double-edged sword. That means you can put it on literally any base figure that you want. However, you're not going to have a working ball joint, but the head will still be able to move around. So you're just going to have to accept that difference. You're going to be moving it around with putty rather than a plastic joint. So anyways, with all that being said, let's go about the steps to get this new head sculpt in place of the old. First thing you want to do, pretty obvious, you just want to get the head sculpt off your main body. You can use warm water if you want, but at least for this one, I know that it's easy enough to just grab it by the body and peel it up a little bit from the chin, and it should pop right out. And as you can see, I've already done a mod in the cowl already. I replaced the dumbbell joint with a Lex Luthor one that's a little shorter. For comparison, here is the original one, which is a little bit longer. So switching out this joint was the first step I took to make this Batfleck seem a little bit more realistic by getting the cowl a little lower on the neck. So odds are this head should be no problem going right onto here. So now we removed our head, and it's totally optional whether you want to replace the joint or not, or keep the joint or not. You could omit it completely and replace it with like a Bandai sprue or whatever it is you want. You have total creative license. Just be sure you have enough tack to support down here and up here in the dome. But we already got a joint, so all the tack is going to be going up here straight into the head sculpt. Next thing you want to do is just test it out. Be sure you got the right height in there. So let's see what this is like. I think that is borderline perfect. Right about there. Even if it's that lower, I wouldn't complain too much. But, oof, man, that makes this figure look so much better, doesn't it? So, anyways, let's go on to the next step. That was the second step. Third step, I know it's really quick, is getting our tack. So it's lined up with a little bit of plastic here, a little bit of paper there. Peel off both layers to it. Get out of the way. And we're going to be using both of them because we want a nice secure fit when we get it onto the head sculpt. And you definitely want to use both, assuming you get two, so that way the head isn't just randomly falling off the figure. You don't want it to roll on the floor and break or anything like that. So got the tack out, and what I'm going to do, it actually looks like a nice little mint, doesn't it? Yeah, I can almost taste the menthol right now, but yeah, you just gotta stick it inside. Again, total creative license on how you want to do it. I noticed that when I put the joint inside this head, it hit the very inside, so it reached all the way through. So what I'm gonna do is kind of make it look like a book, just have them kind of folding on both sides like that, and I'll create a little bit of a cushion when the joint goes in there. So let's push it down a little bit, and I guess we'll get the joint into the little crevice in between. Let's actually have those meet a little better. Just push it a little bit from either side so they close in together. A little bit more, close that gap, and that should be fine. Now what you should need to do is, well, this is the last and final step. You just got to pour that in, slot it right through, and it should gum up really nicely. You can see it's not falling off or anything. It's nice and sturdy. And if you feel like it's a little bit misaligned or anything like that, I mean, naturally you can articulate it how you want, or you can pop the head off completely. You can remove some tack. You can add some more, whatever is your pleasure. But I think this is just right. That actually is not too bad. I don't think I need to adjust the height of the joint at all. I mean, if you wanted to, if the neck peg was too long and you didn't have a substitute for it, you could get a wire cutter and just trim off the ball completely. And then you could just have the tack going around the shaft of the dumbbell joint, which would no longer be dumbbell joint because there would be a whole ball joint excluded from the equation. So there's a lot of creative liberties you could take going on in there, just whatever it takes for the head sculpt to seem natural with the rest of the body sculpt. And I really like how the black is the exact same black that we have down here on the rest of the cowl. So that's excellent. So that's it for replacing the head sculpt. But before we continue on and wrap up this video, I did want to do a few comparisons quickly. So firstly, here is the BVS Batman next to the Doomsday and Superman 2-pack Superman, and as much as I sung my praises for this figure, I do still love it. Damn, he's way too tall, so I might do a mod with that, I'm not sure. And also this guy is kind of in this default crouching position, so that feels a little weird. But just to give you an idea of what a head sculpt from third party looks like compared to a head sculpt where they no longer have the rights to the face, in this case Henry Cavill, let's just bring these two in and zoom in as well. That should help us a little bit. Come on. There's enough room for you both. You both got a movie together, so you're fine. But yeah, you could see this one definitely has a much more thorough human likeness than this one over here. I mean, this isn't the worst thing, especially from a distance. A lot of people have complained about it, but I don't hate it too much. Although I do have two substitutes coming in the mail for this one as well from a different seller. And we'll revisit that later when those do arrive. But yeah, you can't go wrong with third party. Although I will mention it will set you back $30 or $40 depending on the seller, coming from overseas. Not sure why they're not selling in the States too often, like all the way painted and pre-sculpted like this. But yeah, if you want to get a good quality one, get it from China, get it shipped in. Should take 3 weeks to a month in my experience. And yeah, just do the swap and you should be good to go. Let's look at a few other examples as well before we conclude. So here is Batfleck one more time next to Michael Keaton's Batman and Christopher Reeve's Superman. And as you can see, I've gotten 2 third-party goods heads for those 2 figures as well. However, this one is McFarlane and this one is NECA. So let's talk about the differences here. Firstly, we've got Batman over here. I'm just going to drag him right in. And this head sculpt's awesome. It does come with alternate faceplates. We reviewed this at one point, so if you want to dig up the video, there's a link in the description if you want to get it. There will be a link to that head sculpt as well in this video. But yeah, you can replace the face sculpts, which is really awesome. He's got a more smiling one and a more scowling one, so that's pretty neat. But yeah, you can definitely see the difference, especially if you remember the original head sculpt. The ears were too round, the head was too big, the likeness was absent, it just was not a good head. And also I got him a custom cape as well. So this guy is totally decked out. And then last one we want to talk about here is Christopher Reeve Superman. And this is an interesting case because firstly, he's on the NECA body, which compared to McFarlane figure is way too short. He is on a McFarlane Negan figure stand, which I've spray painted to make it look a little generic and go with any figure that you want. But if you just have him firm on the ground and pan up, then yeah, he's a little bit too short. I can imagine next to Henry Cavill if he wanted to. He just dwarfs him. So yeah, what I'm going to do to fix that is I'm going to get the McFarlane version of Christopher Reeve Superman. This is a placeholder, but now that we're getting him, I'm hoping that this head sculpt, which is awesome, will be compatible with that figure. So we'll see how that turns out. I mean, now that I look at it, the head definitely looks a little too big for this body, so I'll be glad to do away with this and put it on a more modern interpretation of Christopher Reeve, because in my opinion, he is the best actor to ever portray a superhero. Fight me in the comments, but that is what I'm going to do, I hope. And I'm really wanting the head sculpts to be compatible and swappable, so that'll be interesting. But there you are. That's an example of 2 other third-party head sculpts and also how you go about swapping them. Again, it's a pretty creative process, very easy to do, but once you get into the neck itself, you kind of have a few options. Do you want to keep the dumbbell joint? Do you want to swap it out? Do you want to trim it down? Get a longer one? Get a shorter one? That's up to you. Otherwise, it's really all the same. Pop off the original head, get the new head, test out the height and everything, get the tack inside, and then just plug it right onto whether you got a Bandai sprue or the remnants of a dumbbell joint or a full dumbbell joint like we did right here. We had no issue, so I'm just going to leave them right there. If it ain't broke, why fix it, right? So that's really all. So I got literally nothing else to say. So I hope this was helpful. And if it was, then please, as per usual, be sure to
Like, comment,
Ring the bell to be notified of our latest arrivals. And subscribe.
yeah, hi, Mechabuck here. If you want to see more from Pod Guy, then please be sure to check out the Pod Plays channel down in the description for some Let's Plays. And if you want to support the channel a bit too, you also got the Pod Patreon, which is down in the description as well. See you around, folks!
Thank you guys very much for watching. Rock on, and I will see you all later.